powerful earthquake rocked Thailand and neighboring Myanmar on Friday, killing at least 3 people in Bangkok and burying dozens when a high-rise building under construction collapsed. Footage shared on social media from Myanmar's second-largest city showed widespread destruction, raising fears that many were trapped under the rubble or killed. The 7.7 magnitude quake, with an epicenter near Mandalay in Myanmar, struck at midday and was followed by a strong 6.4 magnitude aftershock. The extent of the death, injury, and destruction, especially in Myanmar, which is embroiled in a brutal civil war that has already caused a widespread humanitarian crisis, was not yet clear. Myanmar's government said blood was in high demand in the hardest-hit areas, and videos from the country showed multiple collapsed houses and buckled and cracked roads. A dramatic video of the building's collapse near Bangkok's popular Chatuchak market showed the multi-story building with a crane on top toppling into a cloud of dust, while onlookers screamed and ran. The sound of sirens echoed throughout central Bangkok and vehicles filled the streets, leaving some of the city's already congested streets gridlocked. The elevated rapid transit system and subway were shut down. While the area where the quake struck is prone to earthquakes, they are usually not so big, and it is rare for them to be felt in the Thai capital. April Kanakawanakul, who works in an office building in Bangkok city center, at first didn't even realize it was an earthquake, the first she'd ever experienced. "I just thought I was dizzy," she said. She and her colleagues ran downstairs from the 10th floor of their building and waited outside for a signal that it was safe to go back in. Myanmar's military-run government declared a state of emergency in 6 regions and states, including the capital Naypyidaw and Mandalay. It was not clear what the declaration meant since the entire country has been under a state of emergency since 2021, when the army seized power. Given the civil war, it was also not clear how help would get to many regions. The Red Cross said down power lines added to challenges for their teams trying to reach Mandalay and Sagaing regions and southern Shan State. Initial reports from the ground suggest the earthquake has caused significant damage, the Red Cross said. Information on humanitarian needs is still being gathered. In Bangkok, a construction worker was killed when rubble from the collapsing building site hit his truck and another was crushed by the falling debris, rescue worker Songwat Wongpon told reporters. Defense Minister Phumtham Wechayachai said in all 3 people were killed at the site and 90 were missing. He offered no more details about the ongoing rescue efforts, but first responders said that 7 people had been rescued so far from the area. Rescue workers say the rubble is still too unstable for them to try and find people possibly trapped beneath. Elsewhere, people in Bangkok evacuated from their buildings were cautioned to stay outside in case there were more aftershocks. The U.S. Geological Survey and Germany's GFZ Center for Geosciences said the earthquake was a shallow 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles, according to preliminary reports. Shallower earthquakes tend to cause more damage. Bangkok City Hall declared the city a disaster area to facilitate interagency aid and emergency help. The Greater Bangkok area is home to more than 17 million people, many of whom live in high-rise apartments. All of a sudden, the whole building began to move. Immediately, there was screaming and a lot of panic, said Fraser Morton, a tourist from Scotland, who was in one of Bangkok's many malls. "I just started walking calmly at first, but then the building started really moving. Yeah, a lot of screaming, a lot of panic, people running the wrong way down the escalators, lots of banging and crashing inside the mall." Thousands of people poured into Binjasiri Park from nearby shopping malls, high-rises and apartment buildings along Bangkok's busy Sukhumvit Road. Many were on phones trying to reach loved ones as others sought shade from the hot early afternoon sun. Others stared up fearfully at the tall buildings in the densely packed part of the city. I got outside and then looked up at the building, and the whole building was moving, dust and debris. It was pretty intense, Morton said. Lots of chaos. Voranut Thairawat, a lawyer working in central Bangkok, said her first indication that something was wrong came when she saw a light swinging back and forth. Then she heard the building creaking as it moved back and forth. She and her colleagues ran down 12 flights of stairs. In my lifetime, there was no earthquake like this in Bangkok, she said. Paul Vincent, a tourist visiting from England, was at a street side bar when the quake struck. The next thing, everybody came on the street, so there was a lot of screaming and panicking, which obviously made it a lot worse, he said. As he came onto the street himself, he said he saw a high-rise building swaying and water falling from a rooftop pool. When I saw the building, oh my God, that's when it hit me, he said. There was people crying in the streets, and, the panic was horrendous really. In Mandalay, the earthquake damaged part of the former royal palace and buildings, according to videos and photos released on Facebook social media. While the area is prone to earthquakes, it is largely sparsely populated, and most houses are low-rise structures. In the Sagaing region just southwest of Mandalay, a 90-year-old bridge collapsed, and some sections of the highway connecting Mandalay and Myanmar's largest city, Yangon, were also damaged. Residents in Yangon rushed out of their homes when the quake struck. There were no immediate reports of injuries or deaths. In the capital Naypyidaw, the quake damaged religious shrines, sending parts toppling to the ground in some homes. Major General Zaw Min Tun, the military government spokesperson, told state television MRTV that blood was in high demand in the hospitals in earthquakes-hit areas, especially Mandalay, Sagaing, and Naypyidaw. He urged blood donors to contact the hospitals as soon as possible. To the northeast, the earthquake was felt in Yunnan and Sichuan provinces in China and caused damage to houses and injuries in the city of Ruili on the border with Myanmar, according to Chinese media reports. Videos that one outlet said it had received from a person in Ruili showed building debris littering a street and a person being wheeled in a stretcher toward an ambulance. The shaking in Monshur, a Chinese city about 100 kilometers, 60 miles, northeast of Ruili, was so strong that people couldn't stand, one resident told the paper, an online media outlet. A resident of Kunming, the provincial capital of Yunnan, told the paper that her ceiling lamp was swinging wildly and the shaking lasted more than 10 seconds. Thailand's Department of Disaster Prevention said the quake was felt in almost all regions of the country. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra called an emergency meeting to assess the impact of the quake.